Far away.
Okay, so year-round preparation for internal audit. The first thing you need to do is the annual data needs to be on your desk as a reference guide, and then it's there for you as a reference. Internal audit needs to start on day 1 of the year. You may be rounding off, but it starts at day 1. The practitioner's guide, led by JPAG, you need to familiarise yourself with it. Structure your council practice around it. Make it your Bible, your go-to place. Selecting and appointing internal audit provider. It's important the council chooses wisely. Yes, it just needs to be a competent person, but are they competent if they're just an accountant and don't understand governance of a council? So choose wisely. The internal provider is required to have independence, competence, understand financial, but understand the governance, be able to read the council's own system, not just the reports that are drawn off. They should be able to delve deeper and understand how you work. What the council must remember is they are managing public money. The internal audit is part of the council's own internal controls. You have, as a councillor, need to prove that public money is actually in safe hands. What the RFO can do, they can be organised. They start at day 1 and it'll be a breeze. If you know the internal audit is coming on the 31st of March and you're working your way through the year with the internal audit in mind, you will find it easy. Ensure your accounts balance to the bank accounts, to the statement, to the previous year's AGAR closing balance. Scribe makes this easy for you if you use it to its full potential. Last year I was working with people who just entered the transactions and didn't balance anything. Ensure your accounts are clear. They are transparent, they are clear cost codes, and they have clear cost centres. Remember, this is public money you are dealing with. It should be in safe hands. Do not use sundries. Do not use miscellaneous. They are a dumping ground. Remember, above all, remember transparency. People should know where their money is being used. Each minute should state the last bank reconciliation date and the balance at the bank. You can do this every minute. It doesn't need me saying at the internal, well, you didn't do this. It should be happening every time. Payment list in the minutes should show who the council has agreed to pay, and show the amount that they agreed to pay. Minutes so often just say payments were agreed, but don't show what was agreed. How do we know what was agreed and how much? Transparency. Powers. The council need to prove they have the power to spend. Use this Scribe drop-down box. If you have general power of confidence, good, but document you've got it in your payment list for your power. S137, have you actually calculated what your S317 is, and was the spend proportionate to the benefit? You can't just spend it because you've got a lump of money. Was it proportionate to the amount of people you're paying it for? Budget and preset, minute to show that it was agreed by the whole council. How often I see that missing? It's a tick box on the AGAR. It's an immediate fail if it's not minuted. So often, it's so easy. It's a sentence. It's an agreement, so must be written. Ongoing risk assessment. How is this proven if you don't minute it in the minutes, i.e. the status of your assets? Take a breath. Insurance, and this is my note to John, and I think it's going to come in the asset register. I want it to show the insurance value as well. Don't forget your fidelity insurance. So often gets forgotten. Have you worked out, have you got enough fidelity insurance to cover you and your other employees and your councillors? Decisions in minutes. Consider, receive, note. The council can only resolve to make a decision of consider. They cannot from receive or note. Often I see this in minutes, and it's a legal decision if you've made a decision on receive or note. So please remember this. These are basic policies I would expect to see on a government's remove of a council, and I'd want to see that these were in place. Remember, your financial explanations, they are the ones the council legally must have and legally must be in date. Financial regs. This one, Polly, must be in place by law, was updated in February 23. Very few councils, by the time I audited them in May 23, had updated it. Why not? Why have the policy that you only do policies once a year? If it's being updated, are your policies legal if you've not updated it. A final note, the internal audit's purpose is to promote a high provision of parish and council audits, promote provision of high quality internal auditors that understand governance, to foster good working relationships with the internal auditors, council, external auditors and monitoring officers. I don't know what you're doing now, John, you're re-whizzing.
Oh, yeah, excellent, Carrie. Yeah, that's really good. The best, I would say, lightning talk so far. Super clear and on time. Right, I'll get Benn's up next. Over to you, and I'll hit the clock. Oh. Now, fire away, Benn. You're on mute. You want to unmute yourself and we'll start again, no problems. You're still on mute. Maybe we can unmute you, I don't know. I'll press this button, Benn, which asks to unmute you, and you might have something that pops up. There we go. Yay. All right, no worries, Benn. Okay, I'll start the clock and fire away.
Thanks, John. So yes, I'm Ben Minshall from Loggerheads Parish Council. I'm going to talk to you about the applications of ChatGPT for local councils. ChatGPT is a virtual assistant. I've been using it for the last month off the back of a conversation that I had with John. Got one of the Scribe emails saying the training was coming. I was really interested because I've been talking about this with somebody. The training happened to be on a day I couldn't do because I was on leave. So I got in touch with John, said, tell me everything I need to know. We had a great conversation and I've been using it for about a month now. So I thought the best way to tell you what it is to ask ChatGPT what it is. And it told me that it's a smart computer program made by OpenAI, and its purpose is to make us talk better with computers. Technology has to work for us. This is a list of things it can help with. It's not an exhaustive list. It's certainly not everything that I may have found in a month, but there's information. It is a source of information like you wouldn't believe. It can do data analysis. Community engagement was one of those things. It can help you to get messages across to your residents. It can help you to convey information to your councillors that they can then take to your residents. Customer service, it's been used by London Borough of Hackney, Los Angeles County and City of Melbourne. I know they're not local, but these are the real world applications that I was able to find. And it's dealing with housing inquiries, it's dealing with COVID-19 information, it's dealing with parks, reservations, decision-making. This was a key one that John and I discussed. Analysing data and trends, for example, if you do a public consultation, you can input the results into ChatGPT. It will collate the results for you to save you from having to do it. And then you can generate the reports and summaries that you need to give to your members to help them make those decisions when they come up in meetings. Challenges and considerations, it is a virtual assistant, it is technology, there's data and privacy, security, it's an AI, it can only respond in the way that it's been taught to respond, but it can also ensure that everyone associated with the council, officers, councillors, residents, are accessible. Lessons learned, it still needs a very human element. It doesn't replace me as a user of it. Its information is best used as a guide. So you take the information it gives you and then you tailor it to make your case. It is intuitive, but it's got a knowledge base up to 2021. However, it can think. Oftentimes when I was putting things in, it would stop for a moment and actually consider the response. Obviously, it's rapid and it has the potential to greatly affect our efficiency and productivity. This is an example of what I typed in. This is a real problem, or a real issue that we are dealing with as a council. That was all I told it to consider. Very short to the point. I didn't say anything about the Burnt Wood or what it was other than a forest. And that's what it gave me. And it gave me that in less than 2 minutes. The background I needed to be able to consider the item, how it needed to be presented, the information that needed to be presented. And obviously the content of the information is not there, but it told me step by step what I would need to consider, even down to alternative proposals. Another situation that we're dealing with is the acquisition of land from the borough council. It's an uncommon situation, but again, that was all I asked it. Very short and to the point. Write me a short report that's going to be considered by councillors. This is the information it gave me. Again, certainly not exhaustive, but it churned this out in under 2 minutes, just from asking a very simple question. And case in point, we've recently taken our grounds maintenance in-house, but I just wanted another practical example for you of how we as a council could have used it. So again, very simple, straightforward. That's the information it gave me. There was 12 more points of information after that. And again, from asking a very simple question around how we needed to do something, it gave me all that information in less than 3 minutes. Future possibilities, endless. As long as the knowledge base keeps getting updated, as long as the responsibilities of towns and parish councils keep growing, the future possibilities for incorporating something like AI into our work, because again, it's not there to replace us. This again proves that point. You know, the considerations is our interactions are very conversational on a day-to-day human level, free-flowing exchange of ideas, and we are willing to teach and be taught, and that's what all you need to do in terms of using an AI. And many of us are using Google Homes and Alexas in the home now, so it shouldn't come as a massive shock. I've put Q&A, but we'll be having a Q&A. So my question to you was how much of the presentation you felt I wrote and how much of the presentation ChatGPT could have written. And it'd be interesting to see what you actually think about that.
Awesome. Thank you, Ben. And over to you, Tom. I'll hit the stopwatch, reset, and fire away.
Oh, thank you very much for allowing me to speak today. So I'm Tom. I am the Executive Officer for Indica, and I used to be a clerk for some time. And today I've just come to speak to you about how your council could come together to work to create a simple strategic plan. So work together to do something that is hopefully both positive and productive. So I've set out some objectives there, which are going to try and identify a problem, set out a possible solution, go through some steps for creation of a plan. You're going to learn about some resources, and then we start off by learning, getting some inspiration in the form of a quote. So to achieve great things, 2 things are required: a plan and not quite enough time. I think every parish and town council will agree that they don't have enough time. So that's already one of your box ticked there. So congratulations on that. So where's the problem? So the problem is most parish and town councils don't plan for further than a year down the line. They do the budget and that's it. And the problem with this creates many sort of problems, but you know, just thinking about the strategic plan, when they do have one, very few people are involved in making it, and when they do have it, it's often just left in a drawer to sort of gather dust, or it could be left on a computer folder and just never really used. So why does not having a plan matter? Well, it creates a short-term focus, so it leads to people not really sort of setting out goals and visions for the council and seeing things as a very short-term basis. So rather than thinking 3 to 5 years down the line, just thinking a year. It could cause internal problems. I mean, how many times have you heard people saying that we don't all agree? So having one thing that everyone can agree on, or a set of things that everyone can agree on, is a positive thing. And also external communications is very difficult for you to engage with your community and tell them what your vision is if you don't have one. So one possible solution might be to have a simple strategic plan. And to do that, you'll need to develop it, implement it, and review it. And in the rest of this presentation, we're just going to go through some really simple steps to have a look at how you can go to create that. So step 1, you need to work out where you are. So you need to establish a starting position. This might sound very straightforward, but it's often something that people forget. They tend to move straight to setting out a vision or a mission statement without actually reviewing where they are. So to do this, you'll need to gather in information. You can do this through surveys, feedback, many other mechanisms. It's also a good idea to have a workshop. And at that workshop, you review the information and you get some more views, and it allows you to interact with people. But the key thing is you're trying to identify what is working, what isn't working, what areas are there for improvement. Here's some sort of detailed ideas that you can do in terms of your workshop. And the one that I think most people will be familiar with is a SWOT analysis, so strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. But there are other ones that you can use, and you can make your workshop as long or as short as you'd like. I'd try and make it informal, try and allow for the free flow of ideas, but there's some links there that you should be able to press on when you got the slides. Let's move to step 2, creation of a strategy. This is where you start to take all that information that you've gathered and you start to think long term. So rather than thinking a year down the line, you're thinking 3 to 5 years down the line. So these are the sort of things that you'd look to have as part of the strategy. You want to set out the purpose of the council, its goals and values, and vision of success. So in 3 to 5 years' time, what does success look like for your council? You also want to start thinking about how you're going to tie it into objectives and budgets. There's no point setting out a vision if it's completely unachievable, because you'll never have enough money to deliver it. Step 3, developing a plan. So this is where you take the strategy and you start to try to think of how you can implement it in real world situations. So you're trying to break it down into manageable chunks that will allow your council to realise its visions, mission statements, and to ensure that the resources are in place. This is probably one of the more complicated bits of it, but at this stage, it's key with a plan to ensure that you've got measurable targets. So SMART targets is one way you can do that. That's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. I would point to the A in that as being the most important, which is achievable. A lot of councils will set unachievable targets. This slide's just flipped over, but the next slide was KPIs. So what you want to try and do is to try and set out some KPIs. So on this side of the slide, there's some sort of general ones. Should have been another one that popped up there, but it hasn't. So those are some ideas for KPIs that you should get on the full slides. Unfortunately, the slides have stopped moving now, so I'm just going to read off my own. So step 4, implementation. This is where you take everything that you've got so far and you start to apply it into the real world situation. So to do this, you're going to need to think about publication and informing people, explaining and training potentially, making sure that the tools are in, you've got the right tools and systems in place. And this is where you start to take your strategy and the plan and to turn it into real world actions. Step 5, review. Very important, often overlooked or forgotten about, but you're going to need to have lots of what could loosely be described as mini reviews as you go along. These could be informal or formal, and these will allow you to take stock and see if you need to make small tweaks and adaptations. But at the end of the life cycle of your plan, you're going to need to hold what I would call as roughly a grand review. So this is where you start to think about the next plan, and you're going back to step 1 in this process. So what worked, what didn't, and what areas are there for improvement. On the next slide that should be hopefully coming up in a second, there are some free resources that you can go and use. Hopefully the links will work on this when you go and download it. So there's some resources on the Scribe page. There's Nauck's Point of Light's document there for a bit of inspiration. And there's a couple of little documents that I've made for you, that little resource pack and a very simple strategic plan, which should be useful, particularly for smaller parishes, probably below precept for about £50,000 in creating theirs. So all that's left for me to do is to say thank you for taking the time to listen to me today, and I hope this presentation was useful.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Tom. So I'm just going to share Andrea's. See you getting a lot of love there. Oh yeah, there we go.
Hello, my name's Andrea Vincent. I'm Town Clerk at Wolverton and Greenleys Town Council. Our community is a complex mixture of Victorian settlement and new town estates. The population is varied, with a prosperous middle class and pockets of real deprivation. 2 years ago, we surveyed the local community, and we asked what services they felt were needed, and youth provision came top. And we weren't too sure what youth provision should be, but this was our take. And would it make a difference? Yeah, we thought it probably would. We didn't really have a budget, we didn't have the time, and clearly didn't know where to start. I mean, I'm a long way from being a youth person, so you know, what do I know? And there was still no resource. So we started with our community youth council, and we're very lucky to have 10 enthusiastic young youth councillors who are totally supported by the Wolverton and Greenleys Town Council, and we hoped that they would be empowered, and that has come to pass. They have done an awful lot of things to be able to gain effectively a survey from the young people by organising Easter egg hunts, Christmas bauble competitions, and they've supported the town council with the gymnastics club, the summer play sessions and such like. And they've also been very supportive of the lounge, which we'll tell you about in a few minutes. They've also helped with our open air cinemas, choosing the films and making this trailer, which we'll just show you. There is a bit of wind, but otherwise it's actually...
Welcome to Wolverton. If food's your thing, who's your sport of choice?
We've got tapas bar and restaurant.
Fancy a drink? The MK Beer Garden. Welcome to our high street.
Remember time? Why don't you have a coffee before you eat? Best fruit veg in town.
Welcome to Alice Hobbies.
Established in 1927.
People come from all over the world to visit this shop. See you soon. Pakistani and Afghani cuisine. Seafood, Lebanese.
You're gonna love it so much, you're gonna want to move there.
Turkish. Clean up your cups.
Geek's your thing.
Performing arts.
Best place for gifts and cards.
Mrs. D's the place to be. South African. Tea and toast.
Fries, fish and chips.
Welcome to the square.
Place for coffee.
A place to lounge.
Come down to Barbas.
Welcome to Hello Gorgeous. Herring Square. Nepalese.
Why not visit our pop-up shop?
So you see, they did all that themselves, and that's, well, I think it's rather good. And the youth club that they mentioned, the lounge at Barbars, it's a bit different in that we didn't really know what young people might want, and so it's a safe space where they can have a hot chocolate and some snacks of some sort and be accepted without judgment or pressure. They can socialise, or they can sit and read, or they can ask to do something else, and the youth worker that works there will support them with whatever they want to do, be it acting or playing a guitar or whatever. Where's the money coming from for this? Well, you know, it's a mixture of things, but yes, it can at some point come from your council budget or grants and so forth. And for example, our gymnastics classes, they're free to all the young children that go, but how much came out of our budget? Well, 0. And that's because we worked hard to have partnerships with lots of people, and some of them are on this screen, and it's those partnerships that allow you to do things that are a bit wacky, I suppose, because I think the lounge, you know, people said, well, what sort of youth club is it? It isn't a youth club, really. It's somewhere to go. And there's a lot you can do. Thank you.